Welcome to my home studio. I want to give you all a tour here. This is more a little gear dungeon or cave where I make music, I make videos that you see on YouTube, and I teach guitar from. I spend most of my life in this space here, and I want to show you not only the space, but the pieces of gear that I use to do what I do. So let's do it. This video is going to be, I guess, a general overview. I don't want to go through every single piece of gear that I have here. If you want to learn about the guitars that I have here, I did do a guitar tour video. If you want to learn about the specifics of something like the Axe effects or how I actually go about making and editing and recording guitar videos, I have standalone videos for all of that kind of stuff. So this is going to be a sweeping overview. And the first thing that I want to talk about, the camera that I use for everything. Obviously, except for this video right now, which I'm filming on a different camera, but this little guy, the Canon EOS M50, I've currently got it on this Joby, however you say that, gorilla stand, so you can wrap this around stuff, but that basically just sits on my desk. I have the 15 to 45 millimeter kit lens to go with it, and the thing that I really like about this is that flips out, so I don't need a standalone monitor. This camera looks great. It's really, really easy to use and set up. It's small and compact. So if you've seen any of my tour vlogs or anything like that, I'm using this camera. It's got a little attachment up here if you want to put a microphone on top of it, but I use a separate mic. This thing, it's a Shure SM7B. It's a great microphone for doing voiceovers. It's also a fantastic sounding microphone for recording vocals. If you saw the lockdown mix version of Rust that I put up over the weekend straight into the SM7, or should I say through the SM7, straight into my interface, which we'll talk about in a second. So this camera, that microphone, and you can see these softbox lights behind me. I normally don't film videos like this anymore. I've actually got a ring light on at the moment to light up this side of me. I normally use those ones because I'm normally looking at my computer and talking, so you normally see the other side of the room, but this is what I see, all this kind of stuff. So camera, microphone, lights. The lights were definitely one of the best things that has ever happened to this little room in here. You can also see there's a curtain behind there to block out any light. I do have some acoustic treatment behind there because there is a window on the other side of those curtains. So I have a big panel which is soundproofed. I have a couple of bass traps, kind of small ones sitting in the corner, as well as one behind my desk. So I'm going to do this a little bit while still looking at the camera, which doesn't seem weird at all. Maybe I should do it the other way. Let's do it the other way because that way I can talk into the microphone. So am I still in the shot? Who knows? This is what I've got on my desk. As you can see, I have Pro Tools open. Probably the most important part of my studio, these guys, the Atom A7X studio monitors, just fantastic. I recommend them to everybody unless you want to go and spend a whole lot of money and get something like some focals or really high-end stuff. The A7s, for a mug like me, are fantastic because I'm not mixing professionally in here. I do my YouTube videos and I write and record demos for the band. We've actually tracked albums in here, but I haven't been mixing or engineering them. But this same kind of setup. In the corner down here, I have a 2012 Mac Mini. I had a 2011 Mac Mini for the longest time, but I moved up to the 2012 model. I think I paid 450 Australian dollars for that, which would be about 300 American dollars. Absolute bargain. It's a powerhouse. It runs Pro Tools and Final Cut at the same time. No problems. And then maybe I should move over here. Well, I have an Apollo Twin here, and that's my interface that I use for just about everything. I actually have a little, what is that, a Soundcraft mixer, because I've been doing a lot of online teaching at the moment. So I use that just because it's simpler than reconfiguring and rerouting audio. Internally, I have a little Logitech webcam up here as well. All right, this thing is pretty cool. I got this recently. This is, who makes this? I forget who makes this. They should probably put their brand name in a better place so I can remind myself what it is. Gion. I think that's how you say it. This is a gimbal, and I will show you some shots of some of the other gear using this thing, but this is really, really cool. It holds the camera that I've got, and is, again, super easy to set up, and it just kind of works. I took it on the last tour that we did. So if you noticed from the last Ragdoll tour vlog, you probably noticed a lot of the footage looked a lot smoother than it normally does, and that is thanks to this. Again, pretty well priced for what it does. And then, while we're on a roll over here, I don't know if you can see in the corner, but I have a big touring style rack drawer thing. It's totally vanity because I don't need a touring style rack full of drawers, but I got it really cheap, and it holds cables, extra lenses, just all the miscellaneous stuff in the studio, of which I have a lot. And then over here, well, the most important thing, that I think it's actually a first order Star Destroyer, not an Imperial Star Destroyer, you know, slight difference. Sitting on top of my Axe FX3. So the atoms are probably the most important, most used piece of gear in here. That is probably second because it's an incredible tone generating machine. You guys have seen all my videos on the Axe FX3, so I don't have to talk it up too much. That is standing? Maybe it's doing both. On top of this rack where I have all my old rack gear. So let's take a closer look at that. I'll show you a few extra things on the desk. I forget the brand of this studio desk, but shout out to my buddy Sam who owned this, and he moved up to a bigger desk, and I got this one off him, and it's been really, really handy. Underneath here, I have a whole kind of spaghetti mess of cables and things like that, and chargers and all the normal stuff. The Axe FX is actually connected to my Apollo Twin via SPDIF, and I have a little 10-DAC optical SPDIF converter because the Apollo only has an optical in, and you can get those off Amazon, I think, for less than $15. I'll put a link in the video description. Alrighty, let's take a look at the rack. We'll take a look at some of the pedals that I have down here sitting on the floor. I have my amps there, and you guys know I have a ridiculous collection of guitars that makes me question my sanity when I look at it and spend too much time talking about it, but we will take a very quick look at all of that. Real quick, here's a close-up of the desk. There's my Mac Mini. There's the monitors. There's my old BenQ crappy monitor doing its thing. I've got a whole bunch of cables and picks and accessories in there. There's a little Soundcraft mixer. And there is the little brute, the Apollo Twin. But most importantly, Baby Yoda. I also mentioned that I filmed the first bit on a different camera. This is actually my wife's camera. It's a Canon EOS 5D Mark III. It's got this 24 to 70 millimeter lens on it, which is just amazing. It's an absolute beast. It also lets me get a nice shot of the ring light as well. So little Neewer ring light there, very, very nifty. And a nice close-up of the Lego, which we all know is very important. There's the mighty Axe FX3. This thing is probably more powerful than everything in this rack down here combined, but that's not the point because it's all fun. So I've got a Furman power conditioner, which is really handy. There's a Boss SY1000 that I've got on loan at the moment in a rack drawer, then a little manual patch bay that I made. Axe FX Ultra, stellar unit, TC GeForce, which is kind of like the predecessor to something like the Axe Ultra, an old Rocktron IntelliFX, which is a lot of fun. I've got an Atomic Amplifier 12 sitting in there. I do need to do some more videos with that. They are gonna come in the next month or so, I promise. Miasnikov Super Lead preamp, which is like an SLO preamp in a single rack space. Very, very well priced. There's my Matrix GT 800 effects, which I use if I ever want to run like a modeler with a cab or I want to shoot some IRs. And the beast, the 80A MP1. There's a tri-axis down there and a Mesa Stereo 250 power amp. I do have another rack preamp coming at some point this week, which depending on when I get this edited, you may have already seen. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then we go down, I've got my live rig, which is this, the Fractal FM3 and a Mission Expression pedal. It is dual locked to a Nuix Bumblebee pedal board. And that's it. Pretty incredible, powerful little live rig. I did the last Ragdoll Australian tour with just that, and it was kick ass. It was so much fun. Moving over here, I've got the pedal board of doom. Again, totally surplus to requirements, but this is just for making fun, nasty sounds. I've did a video with this last week. As you can see, I've got a Boss SY1 on there, also on loan. There's an Anarchy Audio Vagiant pedal on there, which is a got to hold the record for one of the funniest pedal names ever. H9 Polydigit, incredible pedal. Pog, a few other things, and then I'm actually going to do this. I'll have to move my ring light. Actually, that's pretty cool lighting. Look at this. We've got some of these things, these delicious high gain tube amplifiers. My old Revision G, or is it a Revision F? I actually don't know. Dual rectifier. If you want to hear that in action, go and listen to the Ragdoll Back to Zero album. Soldano Hot Rod 50 Plus, that was the first really great piece of gear I ever bought. You guys know and love that if you've been watching the channel for a while. I should do some more videos with it. And then the newest member, the Cherry Tone Molecular, which is basically my dream Marshall style amp. On top of that, you can see there's the Fractal X-Load, which is very, very handy at the moment. I normally route that into one of these inputs down here, and that just goes into the Axe-FX 3 where I can load up IRs. And then I've got guitars. So this thing somebody asked about, that's a prototype. It's basically a gem style body with a Night Swan style neck with a fan fret fingerboard. I'll have to pull that out in a Q&A, but yeah, that's like a prototype I worked on with my dad. There's the really cool rubato Lassie guitar. Hey, this is a cool shot. Bunch of things that make cool sounds sitting in here. There's my Wolfie that I got really cheap. My Strats are back here. The Dean V that they sent to me, that was very, very kind of them, and that's a very, very cool guitar. My Hamer Standard, monster of a guitar. There's a Firebird in here, which I should play more in demos, some more Hamers. And there's my dad's old Guild 12-string acoustic, and you can see this wall is hanging on those rails back there. So let's take a quick look at the other wall. This is the stuff that I use the most, so I try to keep it at hand. I've got my number 1, my black PRS single cut there. Got my dad's old 335 and his Les Paul Deluxe sitting there. There's the green PRS and the Makata you guys would have seen. There's the flame top Les Paul Standard there. As you can see, just crazy stuff. I've got my Headway acoustic guitar down here. I recently tracked a bunch of acoustic guitar for a friend of mine's solo album. That was one of the hardest things I've ever done because I had to play this kind of like gypsy jazz Balkan style guitar on it, and I used that for it, which was really, really fun, but really, really challenging. Lego Millennium Falcon back there and the Goku portrait, which is really, really important. I get plenty of inspiration when I'm recording guitar solos by looking at that guy. And then just kind of stuff. I've got some couches back here. You guys probably see this. That is a blanket that my wife crocheted for me. It took more or less a year. And that thing, the old Roland VG8, I'm gonna do a video with that very soon. And then just, you know, stuff. As you can see, this is like a full-blown mental disorder having this many guitars. I definitely don't need this many. There's probably 5 or 6 that I play all the time, and the rest are just kind of flavors on there. So yeah. Other studio essentials include this Dyson V6 Animal Origin vacuum cleaner, one of the best things I've ever bought. I'm a hairy person, I have a cat. It makes sure I'm not living in utter filth all the time, and it's really easy to recharge and to clean, which I'm very happy about. Speaking of cats, everyone needs a studio cat, and this old guy is, what, pushing 15 or 16, and he loves his cat biscuits, as you can see. Now, because I spend so much time sitting around, I have this foam roller in my studio. I also take it on the road with me as well. Keeps me nice and limber. And finally, the coffee rig, I have this DeLonghi Dedica grinder. I have a Bonavita gooseneck kettle, which actually kind of corroded a bit, as you can see on there. And then I use a Chemex for pour over, and I use like a kind of aluminium filter so I don't have to keep going through paper. That might be a little bit controversial for all the coffee nerds out there, but I think it tastes great. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. Just one final note. You don't need this much gear to be creative or to make music or to make YouTube videos. If you're just getting into making music or you're just getting into doing the YouTube thing, just focus on the bare essentials. Try to get the best things that you can afford and then work on the actual content side of it, like being creative or like being yourself on camera. And if you're bringing something to the table, if you actually do have something to say, that's far more important than the piece of gear that you use. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you to everybody who encouraged me to make this little studio tour. Be safe, be good to everyone. I'll see you next time.